Next question is, this question is a part of a series of questions that present the same scenario. Each question in the series contains a unique solution that might meet the stated goals. Some question sets might have more than one correct solution, while others might not have a correct solution. Your Azure environment contains multiple Azure virtual machines. You need to ensure that a virtual machine named VM1 is accessible from the Internet over HTTP solution. You modify a network security group NSG. Does this meet the goal? Option A, yes. Option B, no. Correct answer is option A, yes. Next question is, after you answer a question in the section, you will not be able to return to it. Your Azure environment contains a multiple Azure virtual machines. You need to ensure that a virtual machine named VM1 is accessible from the Internet over HTTP. Solution: you modify a DDoS protection plan. Does this meet the goal? Option A, yes. Option B, no. Correct answer is option B, no. Next question is, your Azure environment contains multiple Azure virtual machines. You need to ensure that a virtual machine named VM1 is accessible from the Internet over HTTP. Solution: you modify an Azure firewall. Does this meet the goal? Option A, yes. Option B, no. Correct answer is option A, yes. Your Azure environment contains multiple Azure virtual machines. You need to ensure that a virtual machine named VM1 is accessible from the Internet over HTTP. Solution: you modify an Azure Traffic Manager profile. Does this meet the goal? Option A, yes. Option B, no. Correct answer is option B, no. Next question is, which two types of customers are eligible to use Azure Government to develop a cloud solution? Each correct answer presents a complete solution. Option A Canadian government contractor. Option B, a European government contractor. Option C, a United States government entity. Option D, a United States government contractor. Option E, a European government entity. Correct answer is option C and option D, a United States government entity and a United States government contractor. Next question is, you need to ensure that when Azure Active Directory Azure AD users connect to Azure AD from the internet by using an anonymous IP address, the user are prompted automatically to change their password. Which Azure service should you use? Option A, Azure AD Connect Health. Option B, Azure AD Privileged Identity Management. Option C, Azure Advanced Threat Protection ATP. Option D, Azure AD Identity Protection. Correct answer is option D, Azure AD Identity Protection. Next question is, your company plans to deploy several web servers and several database servers to Azure. You need to recommend an Azure solution to limit the types of connections from the web servers to the database servers. What should you include in the recommendation? Option A, Network Security Groups NSGs. Option B, Azure Service Bus. Option C, a local network gateway. Option D, a root filter. Correct answer is option A, Network Security Groups NSGs. Next question is, to what should an application connect to retrieve security tokens? Option A, an Azure storage account. Option B, Azure Active Directory, Azure AD. Option C, a certificate store. Option D, an Azure Key Vault. Correct answer is option D, an Azure Key Vault. Next question is, this question requires that you evaluate the underlined text to determine if it is correct. Resource groups provide organizations with the ability to manage the compliance of Azure resources across multiple subscriptions. The options are no changes needed. Option B, management groups. Option C, Azure policies. Option D, Azure app service plans. Correct answer is option C, Azure policies. Next question is, your network contains an Active Directory forest. The forest contains 5,000 users account. Your company plans to migrate all network resources to Azure and to decommission the on-premises data center. You need to recommend a solution to minimize the impact on users after the planned migration. What should you recommend? Option A, Implement Azure Multi-Factor Authentication (MFA). Option B. Sync all the Active Directory users' account to Azure Active Directory Azure AD. Option C. Instruct all users to change their password. Option D. Create a guest user account in Azure Active Directory Azure AD for each user. Correct answer is option B. Sync all the Active Directory user accounts to Azure Active Directory Azure AD. Next question is, this question requires that you evaluate the underlined text to determine if it is correct. From Access Control IAM, you can view which user turned off a specific virtual machine during the last 14 days. Instructions: review the underlined text. If it makes the statement correct, select No change is needed. If the statement is incorrect, select the answer choice that makes the statement correct. Option A. No change is needed. Option B. Azure Event Hubs. Option C. Azure Activity Log. Option D. Azure Service Health. Correct answer is option C. Azure Activity Log.